Recording? And welcome, sports fans, to today's roundtable. We've got a lot to talk about in today's show. We're wrapping up some high school basketball for this week, gearing up for the Christmas week, and of course that means the Bloomfield Christmas Tournament coming up this next week. Of course, the Southeast Missourian Christmas Tournament up in Cape Girardeau as well, and other probably Christmas tournaments going on in the region. So a lot to talk about today. We're going to preview the Bloomfield Christmas Tournament. Today we'll have Travis Cotermus along with us to talk about those games coming up this next week, and we'll also get into what we'll be carrying here on YHC TV and SeamoreSportsZone.com. And we're going to talk about the games over the past few nights. For this pretty much wraps up any basketball games until those Christmas tournaments. So we're going to talk about the past few games, or past few nights of games, and we've got a few highlights of games that we've done over the past few nights as well. So we'll be getting into that here momentarily. And also we're going to be, we'll feature an interview that the Southeast Missouri State University Athletic Department did with its new head football coach at Southeast. We'll be playing that and at the end of our program as well. So a lot to get to today, a lot to talk about. And before we get to, we're going to be talking about some high school wrestling as well as it gets kicked off here in the last few weeks. So we're going to be talking about quite a bit of things for today's roundtable. I'm glad you joined us. You join us each Saturday morning live at 10 a.m. right here on YHC TV channel 21 or SeamoreSportsZone.com. So hopefully you'll tune in each Saturday for us, and we replay it throughout the week, and also it's uploaded to SeamoreSportsZone.com and watch on demand there on our sports site. And let's go ahead and get into some games from this past few days and take a look at some results from last night. And in a game that we did here on YHC last night, it was Kennett over Portageville, and a big win for Kennett, 77-47. No problem for Kennett in that victory last night. And we got a highlight of that game from last night. It really started off with a bang there in the first quarter. Taking a look at this inbound play to Cavante Mitchell with a slam in the paint on the inbound, and that pretty much set the tone for the rest of the game. As we see here, a nice step-through shot there by Pringle. And now this is where Kennett really took control of the game on the defensive end, really dominated the Portageville guards on the outside. As we see a three-pointer by Portageville. Portageville shot the ball well from the outside last night, but wasn't near enough as Kennett really ran away with this one. A nice move along the baseline by Cavante Mitchell. Had a big night, I think 29 points on the night for Mitchell. And as we see there, a turnover in the backcourt by Portageville, and an easy basket for the Indians. And a nice fall-away jumper here by Antavius Drake. Tough shot going left, shooting right. And a drive to the basket there by Cavante Mitchell. And just a dominant win for the Indians last night. It was close early on, but throughout the second quarter, or the end of the first quarter and the second quarter, the Kennett Indians went on a 33-1 run there at the end of the first and the second quarter. Very impressive run there by Kennett, and it was all done by their defense. They really got after the Portageville guards out front, forced turnovers, got easy layups in transition. So an impressive performance by the Kennett Indians last night. Portageville shot the ball very well from three, probably shot better than 50% from the outside, probably closer to about 60 to 65%, I would assume. We didn't keep a chart on that, but hit 8 3-pointers in that game, and 24 of their points came from three-point line. And moving on to other games from last night, Oran over Delta in a big way, 76-11, dominant win for the Oran Eagles there last night. And also we have Bernie over Bell City, 95-27, big win for the Bernie Mules. And in other games, Dexter over Richland, 68-36. The Dexter Bearcats getting their first victory of the season. And also we have East Prairie over Oak Ridge, 46-43 in a close one. Advance over Bloomfield in the Stoddard County, 76-69. Sykeston over Notre Dame in the CMO Conference, 64-54, and Sykeston avenges that loss to Notre Dame just probably 2 weeks ago. Notre Dame defeated Sykeston in the semifinals of that CMO Conference tournament on Sykeston's home floor. So Sykeston avenges that loss last night by 10 points. And also we have New Madrid County Central over Doniphan, 69-48. Hayti over Holcomb from Thursday evening, 74-49, and a big win there for Hayti in the Boot Hill Conference. Now that Holcomb's into the Boot Hill Conference, as a conference victory for the Hayti Indians, and we've got some footage of that game from Thursday evening. And starting off here, Ryan Reeves with a nice three-point shot at the top of the key, nails it, and a nice drive here by Ryan Reeves. Dishes it off for another two by Holcomb. They got off to a good start, but Hayti really started to show its muscle in this game. You see there a dunk in transition by Brandon Burton, and this is one fella to look out for. Endakin Presbury, junior for the Hayti Indians, really stepping up big for the Indians so far this year, and a nice turnaround jumper there by Holcomb in the lane. A nice step through and jumper by Kenyatte Brooks, and Brandon Burton really coming along this year is a tough shot there in the paint. And we see Devin Riddick here hit a three-point shot on the left wing. And a nice dish there by Ryan Reeves for the easy jump shot for Holcomb. And again, out in transition, Brandon Burton finishing it off for the Hayti Indians. And Hayti run away with that one Thursday night. And, you know, those two teams, Hayti and Kennett, we're going to talk about in our next segment. The top two seeds in that Bloomfield Christmas Tournament having dominant wins just over the last few days. So some really good teams to look out for, especially with those two teams in this year's Bloomfield Christmas Tournament. And I did say, opening up our show, that we only got pretty much wrapped up the games for the Bloomfield Christmas Tournament. That isn't exactly the case. There's some games going on. I believe it's... we're going to get the right date on that before I move on to what I want to talk about. We're going to talk about that in the early part. I want to make sure I get the date on these games right. But bragging rights games in the Show Me Center in Cape Girardeau coming up soon. And we're going to talk about that, and the Bloomfield Christmas Tournament. That's going to be a lot to look forward to starting next week. And we're going to come back and be back with Travis Quatermas and talk about those matchups coming up.
Welcome to NFL Total Access,
the show that takes you inside the locker room and down on the field. With inside access to all 32 teams all year long. NFL Total Access, Monday through Saturday, only on NFL Network.
NFL Network, where football season never ends.
I chose Three Rivers College. Caring staff made it easy to enroll. I'm receiving affordable, quality college classes. Day, evening, and online classes let me work college into my schedule.
With locations throughout Southeast Missouri and over 200 course offerings, including online courses, Three Rivers can help you earn a college or career technical degree.
I chose Three Rivers College. You should too.
Enroll today. Learn more at trcc.edu. Three Rivers College. Success starts here.
First Midwest Bank Gold Club offers special privileges for our friends who are age 50 or better and have combined deposits of $5,000. Members enjoy trips, cruises, seminars, and picnics, along with free personalized bank services. Upcoming trips include Journey Through the Holy Land, Yellowstone in winter, Classic Ireland, and Hawaiian Paradise Cruise. Stop by any First Midwest Bank location to sign up for the Gold Club. It's absolutely free. First Midwest Bank, providing common sense financial solutions every day.
And we're back, and we're along with Travis Quatermas, and he's here to talk about some high school basketball. Also, we're going to talk about some wrestling in another segment, but a lot to look forward to coming up, Travis, for this Bloomfield Christmas Tournament. And briefly, we'll just talk about the games we had over the past few weeks. Well, these Kennett Indians and Hayti Indians. looking really good so far.
Yeah, Battle of the Indians there. And Kennett, very impressive in the early going. They ran into a couple of tough opponents there at the SEMO Conference Tournament, but still knocked off Cape Central in the first round, so they're definitely for real. Mitchell is no doubt one of the best players, if not the best player in all of Southeast Missouri. And Hayti, wow, what can you say? I know a lot of us were a little worried about their guard play coming into the season. We knew they would be tough in the interior there with the burdens, but they've really put it all together. Hayti is usually a little slow out of the gate. They really don't start get rolling usually till about midway through the season, but hats off to Coach Taylor. He's really got them playing well. Undefeated. Very impressive.
Yeah, very impressive. And we had Hayti and Holcomb the other night, and Hayti, as soon as midway through the first quarter, they hit their stride, and they're looking really good. And Kennett, basically the same thing. A little different teams. Kennett is smaller, but boy, they get after you defensively, and they really got after Portageville last night and went on a 33-1 run at the end of the first and into the second quarter. And you don't see those very often, 30-1 runs.
No, that's unusual. They really shut the door on Portageville there.
Yeah, they sure did. And boy, they really get after it. And, potentially these two teams meeting up in the Bloomfield Christmas Tournament Championship.
Yes,
certainly. Going to be something to look forward to. So
now they're the top two seeds.
Oh my goodness! Go to break.
We'll be right back.
And we're back, and we saw our mischief there for a few minutes. We had a ceiling collapse on us for the rain, so we had to attend to that for a few minutes. So we're back and talking more basketball. You got to love live TV, huh?
It's just like the Bible says, Tyler. The rains came down and the floods came up. So what can you say?
It's been quite a day for sure. So getting back to what we were talking about, Hayti and Kennett looking really strong, and going into this Bloomfield Christmas Tournament, they're the number 1 and 2 seeds, and I think it's rightfully so. Those are the two teams to really look out for this year.
Yeah, deservedly so. Bernie's the 3rd seed, and they're undefeated, been playing really, really well. And I think most observers believe that it could be any one of the top 3 seeds, Kennett, Hayti, or Bernie. All 3 of those teams have been very impressive in the early going. The rest of the field, there's a lot of parity there. So be really between from 4 to 12. I mean, you could see any combination of teams in the vying for the other positions, and you never know. We might have a Holcomb somewhere in that group. They were the number 6 seed last year and kind of came out of nowhere and won it all. Shocked Kennett in the championship game. So it's always a great tournament, great atmosphere at Bloomfield. They put on a great tournament year after year, and we're really looking forward to it again this year.
Sure. And we've got those tournament matchups for the first round, and let's take a look at those as we get underway Thursday morning with the Bloomfield Christmas Tournament. These will be the first games to look for starting Thursday morning, and the first game will be Kennett versus Richland, the 116 game. And these are the matchups here, how the bracket will look for this year's tournament. So right there in the neighboring bracket is 8th seeded Malden versus 9th seeded Holcomb, 5th seeded Saxony Lutheran versus 12th Bloomfield, 4th South Pemiscot versus 13th Doniphan, 6th Twin Rivers versus 11 East Prairie, 3 Bernie versus 14 Puxico, 7 Dexter versus 10 Portageville, and 2nd Hayti versus 15th Van Buren. So those are the first round matchups, and taking a look there, Travis, some interesting first round games are probably going to be that Dexter and Portageville game there, that 7-10 game. That could be a close one coming down to the end there.
That's true. Dexter's really struggled coming out of the gate. Their competition has had something to do with that. But offensively, they've just not gotten on track until last night. They had a good game at Richland. So hopefully that will get them going. Tough Portageville team that's also had some had a hard schedule here in the early going. They're looking for their first win, looking to prove, both teams I no doubt, prove that they're better than their seeding. So that'll be an exciting first round matchup, and I think a game that really could go either way.
Yeah, that'll be probably the, once you get that 7-10, 8-9 game, those are going to be the closest games in that first day, and certainly should be some close ones there. And the 8-9 game will be Malden and Holcomb. Could be a close one right there. We had Kennett and Holcomb earlier in this week, and Malden can really get up and down, but they're a small group. I say they're a small group, but they got some size this year. They had some young size come up, and Trevor Ison and the Ransom kids. So they got a little bit more size than they had, but they're young. They're coming along, playing at the varsity level for the
bigger
first time.
kids are mostly coming off the bench, so their starters are small.
Yeah, they're young. They're playing at the varsity level for the first time this year. So a lot to look forward to with those kids going forward.
But Malden's Cortez Dobbins is in the conversation, one of the top players in Southeast Missouri as well. He's really dynamic.
Yeah,
so he's really, really talented.
Yeah, he's a talented kid, and we'll be looking for that first round game too at Malden and Holcomb there in that 8-9 game. And I think the tournament's more top heavy this year than last year. I remember last year going in, we could say 6 teams could come away with that. Your top 6 teams were very competitive, and it ended up being the 6th seed there at Holcomb to win it all. But this year we're probably looking at 3 teams going in as the favorite to win it, whether it's Kennett, Hayti, Bernie. South Pemiscot's one of those teams I thought would be stronger at this point of the year. I thought they'd be right there in the mix, but they're struggling a little bit. Struggled to get past Malden last night. Took some early losses in the year. Hayti defeated them, also Crothersville. So that's one team that might, at the end of the year, we could be including them in the conversation, especially there in Class 2. But I think they're missing some kids from last year. Jacob Trammell was a big-time player for them, and also his name escapes me, but they had an all-district player there. Kills me, I can't remember it. But losing 2 of those guys from last year's team, I thought they'd be coming back with some pretty good players, notably Antonio Primer, really good player for them last year. But it might take to the end of the year before they really get to where they want to be.
Well, and we mentioned Malden. Holcomb's a team, I think, that surprised a lot of people. They really took it on the chin from Hayti there last night, but I think losing their leading scorer of all time there in Jamie Massey, along with 3 other starters, I think a lot of us thought Holcomb would struggle this year. But out of the gate, they've been very competitive. So they're a team, that with Ryan Reeves there in the mix, good ball player, get hot, make some noise. One team that intrigues me, too, in the tournament field is Saxony Lutheran. They're the number 5 seed. They've got a kid in there in the middle, about 6'7", named of Jack Lake. Played with the SEMO Swarm this summer, AAU team. Very good ball player. Does a lot of scoring, great on the boards. Their guard play is improved. And that's a team a little further north there of Cape. We don't see a lot in Southeast Missouri, so that's a team maybe to keep an eye on. And then in the lower seeds, I think East Prairie might be a team to look out for. They've been down the last few years, but they're better this year. Again, a very exciting player in Damian Tipler. They're the 11 seed, playing, I think, Twin Rivers in the first round. And Twin Rivers got a good ball team, but East Prairie is liable to sneak up on a few people this year. So some dark horses, in my opinion, to look out for there.
Yeah, you mentioned Saxony Lutheran. That might be a team that may be able to be this year's sleeper. These teams don't face them very often. They're, like you said, they're up north, and having 6'7" size. I remember him from last year, and if he's improved any over last year, he could be very formidable in this year's tournament with that kind of size. So Saxony Lutheran might be one of those sleepers this year.
And Bloomfield always seems to play well in their home, this tournament they host every year too. They seem like every year they slip up on somebody and score a big win. And again, you're talking about a team kind of like Malden, young, not a lot of size, but they've just about slipped up on several teams this year. I mean, they played advanced within a few points last night. They've had very nearly down in that Bernie Invitational. They just about caught a couple of teams sleeping. So they play very good defense. They slow the game down. They're well coached, and so Bloomfield's another team. They're in those lower seeds that just might pull another upset again this year.
Yeah, and one thing, Donovan, seeing them as a 13 seed.
That's unusual. Donovan's usually one of the top teams in the field, but they've lost a lot to graduation.
I know they played New Matter County Central last night and lost them maybe 14, 16 points, something like that.
Crothersville hammered them pretty good earlier in the week. So they're not near the team they have been in the past, but again, they've got a great tradition there, and you just can't overlook anybody in this tournament.
Anytime Donovan's a 13 seed, you might need to have some skepticism in that seed just going in. You've got to be prepared if you want to play a Donovan team. And if they're a 13 seed, you can't take them lightly, and that'll be Salpim and Doniphan. That could be a good game.
Absolutely.
That could be an quote unquote upset alert game.
Right.
With Salpim Scott not starting very well, and Doniphan, they've played some tough teams. In Matter County Central, they're going to be, they're a tough team, and
Right.
That could be a game to look forward to in the first round.
Like we said, once you get past the top 3 teams, there's just a lot of parity in the tournament. So, a lot of times the first round of these big 16 teams tournament, not a lot of excitement. But I think this year's going to be the exception to the rule over at Bloomfield. Going to be a lot of good games in the first round. And a lot of these teams that we could very well see more than one upset, I think, on day 1 of the tournament. So tune in here on YHC because there's going to be a lot of good basketball played.
Sure. Gets underway Thursday morning. I believe the first game's at 10 a.m., I believe.
I believe that's right.
The Kennett-Richland game. And it'll be a lot of excitement. It'll be Thursday, Friday, Saturday, taking off Sunday, finishing up Monday. Those 4 days, the 26th through the 30th. Starting the day after Christmas, so a lot to look forward to for this year's Christmas tournament. I believe it's the 57th annual, if I'm not mistaken, 57th annual Bloomfield Christmas Tournament, and we're going to bring it live to you here on YHC TV, Channel 21, and CMOSportZone.com, so look forward to that this next week. And speaking about the Southeast Missouri Christmas Tournament up at Cape Girardeau, I have not seen the seedings for that, how that breaks down, so can you bring any light to that?
Yeah, Jackson is the number 1 seed. And again, I think rightly so. Of all the teams I've seen here in the early going, and it is very early, small sample size, but of all the teams I've seen in the early going, Jackson really has the total package.
Yeah. Winning that CMO Conference tournament does a lot for that.
Absolutely. I mean, they've got their guard play is significantly improved from last year. They play great defense. They're very well coached. They've got the size in the middle. I mean, their starters go 6'8", 6'7", 6'5". So, they're really big. They're very athletic. So they're the number 1 seed, undefeated, deservedly so. Charleston comes in number 2. Charleston struggled a little bit here in the early going, but they're still very dangerous. The number 3 seed is Cape Central, followed by Notre Dame and Scott County Central. So again, a pretty top-heavy field. There's a few teams in the middle there. Maybe an Oran or a Chaffee who might make some noise. I believe they're the 6-7 seeds respectively. But I think most people feel like this is probably Jackson's tournament to lose. Yeah. Maybe a Charleston might slip in there. Cape Central's really struggled in the early going. They dropped their first 4. They won last night on their home floor over Farmington. But so we really just don't know yet what Cape Central has. There's a lot of talent on that roster, but they just haven't put it together in the early going.
That's one thing. I thought Cape Central, well, I still think Cape Central will be right there in the mix in Class 4 with, you look at those big guys they've got in Jamal Cox and Statham. The guard play is what's really struggling right now. I think they're not getting a lot of offense out of their guard play, and I think that's what's kind of keeping them behind the pack right now when it comes to that CMO conference or the teams there in that Class 4 district. So by the end of the year, if the guards start to produce offensively, they'll be one of the top teams in the area. But I think they're, kind of like these other teams. They're getting out slow, but by the end of the year, they're hoping they can bring their talent along to meet their potential. So that's a team to look out for.
I think one thing that slowed Cape Central down a little bit, too, in the early going is they had such a deep run in football into the playoffs, going all the way into the Class 4 semifinals, losing to Webb City, the eventual state champion in Class 4, again. But so a lot of their basketball players had just had about a week of practice going into the season. So they'll gel, I think you're right, as they go along. And they'll come the end of the season, they'll be a force to be reckoned with. And they're liable to make some noise there in the CMO conference, or not CMO conference, but the Southeast Missouri Christmas Tournament. They're certainly the only team that can match up with Jackson in terms of size.
Yeah.
So we'll see what goes on up there, but that'll be another good tournament, great tradition. Scott County Central is the dark horse in that tournament up there, in my opinion. They're getting their best player, Larandis Banks, back after he was sidelined with a medical condition, but he's been cleared to play. And, in fact, played for the first time the other night when they just ran Advance off the floor. I mean, just hammered them. So they play tonight also at Oran for the championship of the Oran Invitational. That was a tournament that was delayed because of all the bad weather we had at the beginning of the season. So that ought to be a good matchup tonight, but I think Scott County Central is the team to watch out for.
Yeah, very talented team. If they're right there, what, the 5th seed?
5th seed coming in, yes.
I would be concerned playing them in the early round. That's going to be a tough team to beat, and they're one of the top teams around, especially with Randus Banks in their lineup. That kid is a top-notch player. We've seen it since his sophomore year. I can remember there at that Final Four 2 years ago up there in Columbia. He played like an outstanding senior. He looked like a senior on the floor. So this Scott County Central team is very motivated after last year. Last year was one of those years that it was they had some struggles. They went like 16-14. They went out to the the quarterfinal round of the Class 1 state tournament and played a very good Eminence team. Dropped that game there in the quarterfinals. And this team's hungry. I got to see them over the summer, and they're hungry to get back and to win the state championship this year, and that's their goal. And they could certainly make some noise there in that Christmas tournament up there in Cape Girardeau. Very good team. And
of course, Eminence went on to win the state championship in Class 1 last year, so that was certainly no fluke team that they lost to. And one thing, too, I think, Tyler, about Scott Central this year is it's not just Lorandis. Last year, he did all the scoring for them, basically. But this year, Jeffrey Porter, Otto's younger brother, has really stepped it up in terms of his scoring. Then they've got Matthew Blissett and a couple of other kids. Kendall Blissett, yes. They do have a Matthew Blissett on the team, too. A new boy by the name of Juwan Owens, who's used to go to Scott Central and then is transferred back there this year. So they've got a really talented team around Lorandis. And they've done well in here without him.
Yeah.
And you add him back into the mix, and it's just going to make them that much better.
Yeah, going to be a very tough team. Even in that Christmas tournament, it's going to be fun to watch. Say if they're the 5 seed, they'll be matching up with potentially
Notre Dame.
Notre Dame, they're the 4 seed, and if they happen to get by them, it'd be the number 1 seed Jackson. So
Jackson's size will give them trouble, but I think Scott Central can balance that with speed and pressure, and if they can turn them over, then they can definitely hang with them. I think there's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
They've got the athletes.
Yeah, certainly. Very top-heavy tournament there at Cape. When you headline Charleston, Jackson, Cape, and, most years Scott County Central in there, and even Notre Dame.
Right.
Very top-heavy because those are the larger schools, and, the smaller schools in Chaffee, Orion, Meadow Heights, Delta, those are teams that are a lot of difference in between those schools.
Exactly right. Orion is still pretty talented. They could make some noise. They finished 3rd in Class 3 last year at Columbia, and they bring back some good players. That's still a very dangerous team. Chaffee is much improved. They're going to be just as, I think, good in the basketball as they were in football. So they're dangerous. They gave Scott County Central all they could handle earlier in the season. And then you've got Leopold. I think Leopold's down there at the number 8 seed. They're undefeated on the year. That's another team, kind of like Holcomb, sort of graduated their whole starting lineup last year. Except for one kid coming back, but they've been very tough in the early going, undefeated, and playing really good basketball so far. So, but you're right. I think once you get beyond the top 5 teams there up at the Cape Christmas Tournament, there's a bit of a drop off there.
Yeah.
Much more so, I think, than at Bloomfield.
Yeah, and I forgot to mention in the scores that we did in our opening segment that the Clarkton Holiday Tournament wrapped up last night, and it was Gosnell, Arkansas, defeating Clarkton 71-56 in the finals. And in the 3rd place game, it was Cairo, Illinois over Risco, 84-73. I forgot to get to those, and Clarkton, one of those teams to look out for this year. They've had a few silent years, but this year they're looking like they can make some noise. And Dustin Ferguson, their coach there, has done a good job opening out this season so far.
Well, Clarkton was the 6th seed in that tournament.
Really?
And then they advanced all the way to the championship game. So they surprised a couple of teams there, and I think they'll surprise a few more there in the Tri-County and in Class 1, District 1. Risco's had a stranglehold on that district here for the last 5 or 6 years, and they're still one of the top teams in that district. But you throw in a Clarkton, you throw in a much-improved Delta C7 squad, and it's not just a lock that Risco's going to walk away with that again.
Yeah. But, it'll be very competitive at the end of the year. They're in the Tri-County and in the district, so
right.
they'll be seeing quite a bit of each other this year. So
yeah. The Campbell Christmas Tournament was also this week, and another team out of Arkansas came up and won that in the 4th seed, Armorel. Don't know anything about them, don't even know their mascot, but I do know they came up here, and from the 4th seed, they won that tournament, and so congratulations to them.
Armorel Tigers, I believe they are.
Are they the Tigers?
Yeah, I think so.
I think Piggott played in one of those 2 tournaments. It may have been the Clarkton tournament, and I think Clarkton beat them in the first round. Maybe one of the teams they upset.
Yeah.
So, again, 2 good tournaments. A lot of small schools in those tournaments, but well played.
Sure. And be looking forward to seeing how these Christmas tournaments play out starting the day after Christmas. It's going to be fun to watch. There's both the Southeast Missouri Christmas Tournament and the Bloomfield Christmas Tournament, which will air live here on Channel 21 and CMOSportZone.com. And we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to talk some wrestling, high school wrestling in the area. And Travis is going to give us some information along with the wrestling, and we'll be back with that coming up.
It's the small things in life that you tend to appreciate. The quality of care at SEMO Health Network is no different. They focus on the small details with healthcare that make you feel good, so you can get back to enjoying the small things in no time. They have so many ways to take care of you with 8 locations serving rural communities in need of medical care, including dental facilities and an in-house laboratory.
You'll feel good about this. SEMO Health Network.
And we're back and along with Travis Cotermus, and we're back with back talking about high school wrestling, and not a whole lot of matches have taken place early on. I know the weather really canceled a lot of those meets early on, but we're getting back into action.
Yes, now that the bad weather as you mentioned, caused a lot of the early meets to be canceled, but now wrestling season really going ahead full steam, and I'm excited about that. My youngest son, Brandon, wrestling for the Dexter Bearcats. We've got the Tiger Classic that's kicked off last night up at Cape Central. And Dexter usually participates in that, but this year they decided to go across the state to Harrisonville to participate in a Christmas tournament up there. And the reason I was told was because they would see a lot of the teams and wrestlers that they will see at District in this tournament. But most of the area wrestling teams, I think with the exception of New Madrid and Dexter, are up at the Tiger Classic. Of course, Jackson is the traditional powerhouse in wrestling in Southeast Missouri, and they're rolling out of the gate. They're 4-0 in their individual duels, and then they won a big tournament up in St. Louis last weekend, and they're expected to do very well again. They're the 2-time defending champions up there at the Tiger Classic. But there's a lot of good talent here in Southeast Missouri. Dexter brings back all but one of their wrestlers from last year's team. We sent 6 wrestlers. The one that graduated was my oldest son, Logan. He was a state qualifier last year. And so we've got 5 of those boys back this year with some talented underclassmen coming up. So Dexter should be strong this year. Dexter's just had one duel. They defeated Notre Dame, and they lost a close one to Poplar Bluff. So Poplar Bluff is always very strong, and then you go up a little further north. You've got teams like Farmington and St. Genevieve that are always very strong. Sykeston is building a good wrestling program. So there's a lot of good action. You might check your local schedules and go out and watch it. Wrestling's a little different. It's not so much a team sport as it is an individual sport. But those boys train really, really hard. I mean, if you think football conditioning is tough, talk to a wrestler. They are the best conditioned athletes in high school sports, and it's really exciting to go out and watch it.
Yeah, and just tell us, who are some big teams, or maybe even big wrestlers coming into this season to look out for?
Well, Jackson's a 113-pound wrestler, a junior by the name of Jared Reisenbeckler. Almost won a state championship last year at the 106-pound weight class. So, and he was wrestling on an injured leg. That was, I don't think, the only match he lost all year was in the state championship. So he's definitely going to be a favorite to come back and compete for that. They've got another young man by the name of Tyler Rush, who should be very good as well. I believe Tyler wrestles about 130 and 138 pound. Their heavyweight, Preston Hobeck, who was All-State, I believe, second team in football for Jackson, is outstanding as well. I think they'll have at least those three and probably four, five, six wrestlers that'll qualify for state. As I mentioned, Dexter brings back 5 state qualifiers from last year, and I think all of those young men should be expected to compete for that as well, and maybe a few more. So New Madrid seems to be improved this year. Sykeston has got some good wrestlers as well, although they lost quite a bit to graduation. They've got a young team. So, and again, if you're going to go a little further north, Farmington and St. John both sent 6, 7, 8, 9 wrestlers to state. So just good tradition there as far as wrestling goes. And I think by the end of the season, we'll see Southeast Missouri represented very well up at Columbia.
Certainly. And we're looking forward to this year. I know we got some really good, talented teams that typically do well at the state level, and we'll be looking forward to seeing how all that plays out this year.
We'll say, as far as Dexter goes, we did have one medalist last year, and that was Trevor Waldner. And he finished 4th, I believe, if memory serves, last year. So he'll be in the mix there at the 138-pound division in Class 2 for a state championship as well. So we've got a lot of potential state champions here wrestling in Southeast Missouri. And again, I would encourage you to go out and go and see a few matches.
Games.
Matches. Matches in wrestling, games in basketball.
Yeah, so a lot to look forward to there as well. And we won't have another roundtable until next week. And well, actually, we might not even have a roundtable next week. We'll be up at the Christmas tournament, so enough sports to watch here on YHC starting next week, the day after Christmas. Thursday going through Saturday, skipping Sunday, and then Monday. And we'll be looking forward to bringing that to you live here on YHC. And it's getting that exciting time of year. Right. Of course, it's the Christmas season, and following that right up with basketball. And it's just a fun time of year.
You know, we haven't touched on girls basketball, Tyler, but of course the Lady Royals Christmas Tournament over at Twin Rivers is kicking off. And Dexter's the #1 seed over there again. And boy, haven't the Lady Bearcats been impressive here early on.
Certainly have.
I thought without Brittany Harris they might take a step back, but if anything, they're better than they were last year.
Yeah.
They may have gotten a little overly reliant on Brittany, who was their all-time leading scorer and is playing well at SEMO for the Lady Redhawks. But they are very balanced. All of their starters, I think, are averaging in double figures right now. The only thing that concerns me with the Lady Bearcats is perhaps a lack of depth. They're only playing about 7, 8 players right now. But boy, they are really, really good. It's just a shame that the best team in the whole country in girls basketball plays here in Missouri in Class 4. Yeah. And if the Lady Bearcats make it back to Columbia, at least they won't see Incarnate Word till the championship game this year. Ran into them in the semifinals last year. But really, I mean, that's no exaggeration. They were ranked #1 in high school girls basketball for the whole country.
Well,
much less Missouri.
I think early on this year they had maybe 3 girls signed with top-notch Division I schools, and they're not even their best player. Their best player is a junior, and she's going to have she can pick wherever she wants to go, whether it's UConn, Notre Dame, Duke, Tennessee, whatever. Right. She'll be able to just handpick.
Well, you know, last year when we played them, Allison Gerald, who was our top outside threat, was hurt. Mm-hmm. She didn't play at all in the postseason, and so they just really collapsed on Brittany, and that just sort of did us in. But this year, the Lady Bearcats are very balanced. Allison is back. She's lighting it up from beyond the arc, her and Hannah No. Paige Patterson's playing very well inside in the post. She's a big girl, about 6'1". So if anything, I think Dexter is better this year than they were last year, and that's saying something when you had a player like Brittany Harris on your team a year ago. But they're the prohibitive favorites to win the Lady Royals Classic over there. Neelyville's the 2nd seed there. I think Naylor's the #3, maybe Clearwater #4. So there's some good girls teams, but I just don't know if they're quite on the same level as Dexter.
Dexter's had their run in that, and you pretty much chalk it up. It's got to happen this year again. It's really no comparison.
Yeah, I'm afraid it's the competition. The real competition is for 2nd place.
Yeah,
in this tournament.
Yeah, that's certainly it. So, like you said, Lady Bearcats off to a great start, and no one's really played them close, but except for maybe that championship game and that Paragould Classic tournament down there. And Paragould played them within about 14, 15 points.
St. Joseph's played them maybe within single figures. I'm not remembering exactly. But then again, that's a state-ranked team in Class 4. Class 5. Okay. So, they're very good. And so Dexter's really going to be tested. And the remarkable thing, too, Tyler, is they've done all this on the road.
Yeah.
They haven't played a single home game yet.
Yeah.
So that's even more of a testament to Coach Chad Allen and his staff and the girls on the team and the hard work they put in. They're always very prepared and very dangerous. So I think we'll see them in Columbia again. Again, it's just a shame that you've got a team like Incarnate Word that's just kind of the elephant in the room as far as girls basketball is concerned. But there's a team up north in Notre Dame that's making some noise. They're undefeated. They've beaten Saxony Lutheran twice this year already. And Saxony's probably the third best team in our area. And they gave our Lady Bearcats quite a game last year. And of course, Dexter's toughest game before they ran into Incarnate Word last year was in the district championship against the Notre Dame Lady Bulldogs. So can't look past them. Saxony Lutheran is a dangerous team. South Pemiscot with Carrie Shepard, Jackson and Poplar Bluff are always good, but I think it's right now it's Dexter and everybody else, except maybe Notre Dame.
Yeah. So, Dexter looking really good. Make another great run this year in girls basketball. Well, Travis, we appreciate you coming along and participating in the event.
The excitement, yes.
Yeah, we've had quite a day here with the rain. It's actually pretty much raining in the studio today, but it's all in good fun and nothing happened. Nothing broke down, nothing's ruined or anything, so it's good to laugh about at this point. So appreciate you coming on today, and we'll be looking forward to the Christmas tournament, having you on, doing some games there, and having some fun.
Looking forward to it, Tyler. It's always a blast. Thanks for having me again.
All right. And we're going to take a break and be back with an interview with Southeast Missouri State University's new head football coach. And we've got an interview that the athletic department up there did, and we'll be back with that coming up.
Okay, you're hooked up and ready to go?
New Wave knows you're excited about sports, so now's a great time to get connected with the Triple Play Package. Crystal clear TV, high-speed internet, and telephone for only $99.99 a month for 12 months. With New Wave Communications, you've got game. In addition to unlimited calling, New Wave telephone users have a wide range of great phone features available. And now with the help of New Wave Internet, they're even easier to use thanks to our convenient online phone manager. Just log on to your MyWave portal. Now phone features like call forwarding can be set up instantly from any computer. Reliably activate or deactivate your call forwarding. And even set your home phone to ring once when a call is forwarded. Home telephone service made even better with New Wave Communications. Call today.
Well, right away I had very familiar with the area. I still have family lives in Missouri, and once I got to researching the job and some of the leadership and the people that were at Southeast, that's what really got me fired up. Well, I've been a part of 3 rebuilds. We first got with Coach Kill at Emporia State, and the thing I think that we're all going to do is we're going to build this thing from a foundation. And if you build it right, like Emporia is still winning. They were in the national playoffs this year. We went to Southern Illinois and we turned that program, and they still won. They won 3 straight conference championships after we left. And then Northern Illinois, they were 2-10 when we got there and ended up winning a conference championship, and they're still winning. So that's really what I've learned and growing up in the business, and the thing that I think's a plus here is I've done everything. Like I've watered the field, cut it, coached them, lined it, sold ads. Like really, I'm really well prepared for this type of job and just really excited. Well, it's a good football league. Very good. Several teams made it to the playoffs this year and are still playing or were playing. And, the thing that always stuck out to me is you never know who was going to win it, who was in contention year in and year out, and from top to bottom, there's some quality football teams, and I can't wait to be a part of that. Well, I think first off, it starts with getting in a stance and running the football and being really, really physical. I want to be the most physical defense in the Ohio Valley, and from that standpoint, last year we were number 8 in the country in sacks. So we're going to try and pressure and get them into long yardage situations where we can pin our ears back a little bit and make those big plays on defense. Well, we're going to build it with high school kids. First stop will be, the closest high school on my GPS to this building, and I'm going to work out from there. The region's extremely important to me, and those coaches and those players staying home, and then obviously we got to own St. Louis, and then from there we're going to try to get difference makers from Kansas City and all of Missouri, and search that out along with Memphis and Little Rock and places that are within 4 to 5 hours of our campus.
And as you saw there, that interview with Coach McCoowitz, the new head football coach of the Southeast Missouri State Redhawks, previously the defensive coordinator of University of Toledo. So hopefully some new life with the Southeast Missouri State football program. Really struggled over the past few years, especially coming this year, and hopefully a new era coming to Southeast Missouri State football and some success in the near future. And that's pretty much going to wrap up today's show. We don't have a whole lot more to talk about, but the Bloomfield Christmas Tournament coming up. Be sure to tune into that starting Thursday morning at 10 a.m. and be going all day Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and taking off Sunday and coming back with the final night on Monday. And we'll bring it all to you live here on Channel 21 here on your New Wave Cable on YHC TV, as well as online, CMOSportZone.com. So be sure to tune into that. And we won't have a roundtable next week due to the tournament. Busy with that. So just be sure to tune in for the tournament. We'll have plenty of sports for you. And until the next time we see you, I'm Tyler Wagner. Have yourself a great Christmas season.